Good Tuesday morning. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk. This, an insider's guide to real estate, life, and the pursuit of happiness, presented by the Yes Team Realtors, trusted advisors in the game, Keith and Jonas Smith of the Yes Team Realtors. Rent versus own, a lot of phenomenal real estate up on the market, and it could be yours. We're going to be talking about that on the show today. We will spotlight how easy, with a trusted advisor, you can get into an ownership situation with a home here in Charlottesville in Central Virginia. Scott Morris will join us on the program. Scott Morris is a mortgage broker that is absolutely very, very talented. He's going to join us in about 5 to 6 minutes to spotlight the options that are out there. I'm very excited for today's show because I think we're going to bring information to you that is maybe generational changing for you. The first step to accumulating wealth, home ownership, and the distinguished gentleman is going to show you how. Now, why don't we go to the studio camera on that note, and let's welcome the distinguished gentleman. And first thing I'm going to say this, Keith Smith, is we are 7 feet and change apart.
We're over 7 feet apart.
We've measured it.
We did.
Okay, so on certainly practicing safe social distancing here.
There you go.
My friend, the show is yours. Good morning.
Yeah, so the reason my
No one saw.
Nobody saw.
No one saw. He ran the cameras very well.
Yeah, so, but we must disclose. So I actually broke the mic and it fell down.
He took the mic off the stand right during the show.
I touched the mic and it fell down.
Live programming at its finest.
And then Judah, being the superhero is,
saved the day.
Saved the day and got it fixed.
But you'll love this as a Marine. He kept the camera on the one shot for me, went around this camera, so no one saw him positioning the mic. So well done, Judah Wickower.
Well, or it was just all about you, and then keep the camera on you.
That's not. It was not intentional.
Yeah, it was just, don't touch the mic, Smith. He actually warned me.
I think we've told you that before.
over the last almost 2 years. Don't touch the mic.
The mic went limp.
Oh, cool. We're moving on.
We're going to leave it right there.
We're moving on. All right. So, hey, I want to kick off a little bit about what we talked about on Friday. Kind of just rally back up around that. It's a really super program that I'm very proud to be part of with the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission and the Regional Housing Partnership. And it's the Emergency Rent and Mortgage Relief Program. It's $2.2 million. And Jude, if you wouldn't mind putting that intro slide up, it would be the first one in the package I sent you.
I didn't get any slides from you.
Excuse me?
I didn't get any slides from you.
Oh.
Were they on the?
Yeah, they were in I put them in a, excuse me, folks. I put them in a zip file in the email.
Oh.
We'll take a look at them, but let's outline that slide while he finds them.
Yeah, so again, live show, broke the mic, forgot to talk to the director. We're doing great so far, Mr. Miller.
Let's do it.
I think it's time for a drink, huh?
Cheers. Cheers. Coffee. So on Friday, it was a phenomenal $2.2 million.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Able for people to wage the gap or close the gap if they're behind on rent or mortgage.
Correct, yeah. So the way this works, if you live in Albemarle County, you call the United Way, and once Jerry continues to be continues to be a superhero and gets us light up. City of Charlottesville, if you live in the city, it's also United Way. Fulvana, Greene, and Louisa, you call MACA, and we'll put the numbers up. And Nelson County, it's in Nelson County, there's a direct line for that to go in that. So the requirements is you have to have a valid lease in your name, right? You have to experience some sort of loss of income from the pandemic. I can speak English.
Pandemic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe I should put whiskey in there. And you're okay up to 150% of fair market value. And you can't make any more than 80% of area median income. The bottom line is if you have lost your job or you have not remained the same hours, you're working at a restaurant of some sort or bartending or whatever, you can apply to this and the money goes directly to your tenant or your mortgagee, and you do not, it's actually a grant, it's free money. So we're excited about it. So Judah, I apologize on that. Are you feverishly working?
Yeah, I've almost got the.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I apologize to you, Judah. That was my fault. I should have made it clear that it was in the. in
No
the
problem
zip
at all.
file.
No problem at all. So money available, guys, 2.2 million. Okay, fantastic. Get that slide up on screen. Fantastic work, Judah Wickower. 2.2 million, it's on screen now. Thank you. Some details there. If you guys are behind on your mortgage, if you guys are behind on your rent, you got some money here locally that can help you in a pinch. And Keith has really done a good job of emphasizing this. While this money is $2.2 million, it will not last forever.
No, I think Chip was estimating 6 to 8 weeks. I think it's much less than that.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing to be important. You can't apply for it until the 15th of July. So, but there's...
But he did say start calling now.
He did say start calling
Yeah.
now. I mean, if you have access to a website, the best way to go is do it that way, get into the program. But it's a really good... it's just a great program. It's awesome in that, and it's just some awesome groups. So thank you, Judah, for doing that. You're going to have to stay up to me because I've got a bunch of slides on this one today. So we want to kind of talk about what's been on my mind for quite some time. Why rent versus buy?
This is huge, guys. And I encourage anybody that's watching here to please, please, please listen to Keith Smith. Okay? I encourage anyone that's watching the show, if you're interested in purchasing a home, if you're currently renting a home, listen. If you have somebody in your family, a son or daughter, a nephew or niece, a friend, an uncle that is renting a home and should be owning a home, this man is about to explain to you how you can do this, and he's going to do it in a way that debunks stigmas that you need 20% down to purchase. Because a lot of people think that.
Well, you put a lot of pressure.
I got a lot of pressure on it. This is a huge topic.
So I do want to add, because we constantly do this,
Mm-hmm.
there's a bunch of real estate agents that are watching. Those folks can help you just as well as anybody, as we can. We're just fortunate enough to have this microphone and this camera and this platform to go ahead and get it out.
That's
So
right.
there's a ton of folks that are on that feed that can get the same amount of information to you. So this is basically the conversation you have with a first-time home buyer. Mostly is what it's going to be is, geez, I'm renting, why should I buy? And, we talked about this on the show, and there's going to be a couple of slides in there, and I'm waiting for Judy to give me the thumbs up with all
What do
our
you need?
We're good to go?
Yeah, we're good.
We're getting there, but which one do you need?
So we're going to start with slide 1, please.
Okay. That is on screen.
Thank you. So the big thing is it increases your net worth, right? So, we talk about this all the time. Home ownership is the clearest path to net worth, to income or
Generational wealth.
Generational wealth, thank you. At the end of the day, your rent, right? You're just paying somebody else's generational wealth on it. And it tends, in this area, tends to go up an average of between 3 to 4% a year. Guess what? The appreciation, and we'll talk about this a little later in the project in the program. The appreciation tends to go up that amount. So we actually did some quick numbers. If you bought a $200,000 house, and we'll talk about that on the back end of it after we get in. We bring in Scott to help us with some of these particular numbers. Can we go to slide 2?
Yeah.
Thank you. So this is just a quick little. I'm going to buzz through a couple of slides real quick before we bring in.
I love it.
Bring in Scott. But what this is this is the rent picture since 1988. It's pretty simple. It goes up.
Yeah.
And it continues to go up. It doesn't necessarily go down.
Now, to the landlord's credit. Okay, the landlord.
You're speaking as a landlord.
Okay, they're not all greedy. Okay.
I'm not saying that.
Right. And I'm just, for the sake of the show, for other people to, their overhead goes up year over year as well.
I'm not arguing any of that. So
Sure.
the purpose of today's show is if if you have if you are in a part in your world where rent makes sense, then that's a good thing. We're just trying to compare numbers and
Sure.
and we, as you know, on this show never disparage any business or class or folks.
Sure.
But we're just trying to look at, okay, I've been thinking about buying, but I don't want to because I don't quite understand. Not that you don't understand, but I've been, this income that you potentially can make, this generational wealth. So, rents go up.
Sure.
So, slide number 3.
Okay. That's on screen.
So, you talked about this on your show a bunch of times. Generational wealth. The best investment you can make, and these are just, this was done by Gallup poll. 35% real estate, 21% stock market, 17% in savings account and in gold. But if you take a look at that flow, the best investment, and at the end of the day, you can put your head down on a pillow in it. Can't put your head down on a pillow on gold. Can't put your head on a pillow for stock market or savings account. Not that these things aren't good.
Sure.
But
and at the end of the day, if you need to, if the proverbial hits the fan, you can rent one of your rooms
that's exactly right.
to help cover the cost of that mortgage. And I've been there.
I know, yeah.
In 2008, 2009.
In Pantops, right?
Villas at Southern Ridge, south of town, Albemarle County. Now an investment property. But I'll tell you what, if in 2008, 2009, when I was launching this business 12 years old now, plus, if I hadn't have rented one of my rooms, there was a couple times where I probably wouldn't have been able to stay in there.
Yeah, totally get it. And there's another chart that we're going to talk about a little bit about what the average appreciation has gone in prior to 2008 and after 2008. And the reality of it, in 2008, it is appreciating too high.
Right.
Right. It's just that was the proverbial bubble.
Yeah.
You'll find when we get to that slide, it's been a more consistent 4 or 5.
Which is good.
That's exactly what
Healthy.
Steady and slow is always good. This stuff doesn't help anybody. So speaking of which, slide number 4. So what that looks at is 6 years prior to the crash and then 6 years after. And if you take a look at it, I mean, some of these appreciations, like in 2004 and 5, were well north of 10%. In some markets, it was considerably higher than that. It was just, we talk about this all the time. That cup of coffee could have bought a $500,000 house.
Right.
On that end of it. So, this 4 to 6% is healthy. When we get on the back end of the show, we run some numbers. I'm going to use 3% just to be conservative, just somebody can see in 5 years or 10 years how much cash they'll actually put in their pocket at the back end of the project.
Is there a segment of the market that has the most consistent appreciation? The starter home, the next up above the starter, is there one this is the one that's most reliable and you can count on?
Yeah, so, to me, it's all about location and micro locations. Clearly, some locations appreciate a little bit more, some appreciate a little less. It really depends on where you're at in your life. And, I would say at this point, globally, within our region, the appreciation is pretty steady across the board, has been pretty steady across the board. That does not mean that there's a micro location that doesn't appreciate that well. Doesn't also mean that there's other markets that appreciate more. I mean, location is everything. We talk about this all the time. Location on that. So I think we are ready to call in Scott because I really want to get into what the average rent is for each. So what I broke down on some slides is for every within the jurisdiction, Charlottesville, Albemarle, Nelson, Green, and Fluvanna. If you were renting, right, what would that look like? So, but I wanted to bring in Scott because I know this on a basic level, but I really needed an expert in here to do that.
So Scott Morse is on the line. Judah, give me the thumbs up to welcome Scott to the show. And Scott, we're live for quite a few people here on Real Talk, presented by the Yes Team Realtors and Interstate Pest and Service Companies. Scott, I'm getting the green light. So the first question I'm going to ask of you is personally a reintroduction of yourself and your family and what you're all about. And then I'll pass you over to Keith for some shop talk. So first, Scott, what you're all about, family, what's important to you, passions, hobbies, and interests.
Jerry, good morning. Keith, thank you guys for having me on. I got father, 2 little kids, got another one in like 3 weeks on the way. I do all sorts of stuff for a small farm, raise a bunch of chickens. We're getting ready to maybe do alpacas, stuff like that. Help as many first-time home buyers as possible, that sort of thing.
Alpacas now, huh?
That's the talk of.
Well, you have to explain what your wife does for a living.
My wife puts braces.
I think we're losing you, buddy.
I'm losing him a little bit. How's the audio over there? Are you losing him as well?
It was good until we started to lose him.
Okay, can you hear him now? See if
Can
we
you
can
hear
get
me?
him talking.
Can you hear me, Scott?
You guys are coming in clear. Is
Got it.
Just me?
Yeah, it looks like you were breaking up there, but it might be fine. It might be the connection between your earbuds and the thing. But we'll dive into this end of it. So I think we lost. What does your wife do for a living?
She's an orthodontist. She puts braces on faces.
Braces on faces.
Braces on faces.
That's
That's a
right.
good tagline right there.
I like it.
That's a tagline. Braces on faces.
Look at this, huh? So
Yeah.
you haven't been in here, but we've got all kinds of neat technology. So we actually have this big screen over to the left here that I can see you in the middle and Jerry in the split screen. And
The clients, the advertising.
look at that, man.
We getting better, Keith.
You know, you guys never cease to amaze me. Okay, Judah never ceases to amaze me. So look, what we wanted to talk a little bit about here, we got a bunch of slides to go in there. You're a loan officer, right? I have a first-time home buyer who's looking to buy a house in Charlottesville, right? The average rent for a three-bedroom, two-bath home in Charlottesville is roughly $2,100. And what we want to talk about is how much house can they buy, right? You know, how much for that amount a month, right? That dollar per month, how much house they can buy. And then we'll talk a little bit about what's available on the market. So we'll start with Charlottesville, which is slide number 5. And I'll get out of the way and let you do your magic. Tell me how this works.
Gotcha. Can I see the slide? Where are we?
No, you cannot see the
You
slide.
cannot see the slide.
cannot see the slide.
We have to. This is all magic. Don't
Yeah.
you know that?
Yeah.
So what we're talking about here, and it's worked off of the spreadsheet that you gave me. It's $2,100. So with the FHA loan, and you can kind of get into this a little bit, with a down payment of 3.5%. Right, at a 3.5% interest rate, your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance will be $204. So if you were to buy a $335,000 house with an FHA loan with 3.5% down, your mortgage payment would be $2,004. So that is $100 plus or minus less than what the rent is. And then on a conventional loan, you can buy a little bit more house because of the way it's structured, but your payment, your down payment's at 5%. You can afford a $348,000 home.
Correct. Now, and in that I sent you, one of the things I didn't account for, because depending on the area and income, there's also a product for a 3% conventional program for Home Ready. Some people can actually income out of it. So if you make too much money, the government takes away the incentive to give you the advantage of that low down payment. USDA, I think it's something that I've got in one of those. I'm not sure where we are on the slide. That has the same kind of setup. They want you making enough money to be able to be inside of the program, but if you make too much, they take the advantage of getting the zero down away as well.
So I broke this down into each jurisdiction. So USDA, which I really want to spend a little bit of time on, we'll talk about in green and some of the other things. But if I have a client that wanted to buy a house, and I guess what we're trying to wrap our brain around, or what I'm trying to explain here, you know, if you can find a $348,000 house in Charlottesville, right, at a 5% down payment, you know, basically you're around a $2,000 a month payment versus about a $2,100. So that's the whole premise of what we're trying to talk about here, is that if you are renting, you're not gaining any money. And we're going to talk a little bit later in the show about, you know, how you can generate this generational wealth. So
Right. I mean, if you take into account that you are paying your landlord a mortgage payment, why are you not out there? You know, let's take advantage of these low rates. Let's see what your options are in order to make that mortgage payment yourself instead of for someone else.
Let me throw this question to Scott. This is the question I want to throw to you. You got a lot of folks watching, Scott. Someone is renting a home, has never purchased a home in their life. They want to own now. They're not sure how they do it, why they do it, the steps they do. Explain to us why this is a no-brainer to do, especially in a market like Charlottesville and Central Virginia, with rents increasing 4% every year, and the rent baseline is already extremely high, Scott.
The main thing there is the number one takeaway. People they get into this kind of this locked in chain of events to where their landlord, or if it's a property management company, is telling them, hey, we need 60 days to know if you're going to do this again. And then they get trapped into this timeline fear of, well, do I have enough time in 60 days to go out and try to see if I qualify and buy a home? And the answer is yes. From the moment you get in touch with me, I issue you a pre-approval, and you get in touch with Keith and Yona, and an agent takes you out and they have you shopping, we're going to close you in 45 days or less, and that's on the long side, depending on what that loan program is. In that 30 to 60 days that you're being notified from your property management company or landlord on renewing, you can go out, get a pre-approval, meet with your agent, and be closing on the home in the same amount of time that they're telling you that they need that timeline as far as, can we keep you here in this lease?
Okay, follow up for you then, for people watching. So 60 days, a little touch and go. Scott's saying the money can be there. How about you as a trusted advisor? Someone's approaching the 60-day where they have to notify the landlord that they want to get out. How do they go about finding a home? Should they be contacting you before the 60 days?
Oh,
Keith?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where I want to go down.
Yeah, so I mean, the very first thing that you need to do with this is you need to contact a trusted advisor, us or any one of the real estate agents that are watching. They're all trusted advisors. And the very first thing that they will do is they will put you with a loan officer such as Scott and say, okay, Scott and I did one yesterday, right? I've got a client that is looking at a house. It's in a fast-moving market. It's not going to stay on the market very, very long. It's at a very competitive price point on it. And, I said, look, you need to contact Scott at 9 o'clock at night, which is what he did. And we will get a pre-qual letter. And that's the first thing you want to do. You want to find out how much I can afford, right? And the place I want to go next is this misnomer, because with this particular client, I had to have the same conversation. Everybody thinks they have to bring 20% down. And that is simply, I can't remember the last time I did a 20% down deal. I'm sure other folks have that's on the feed. But so let's talk a little bit about that, because there's a really neat product that loan product that doesn't get a lot of airplay, and I think I'd like to do this at the moment, is the USDA loan. Right? So, Scott, would you talk a little bit about that? And I'm going to wrap it around what it means in Albemarle County. So I apologize you can't see the slide, so I'll walk you through it. If you could put slide 8 up, I'd appreciate that. So we'll get better with our little technology thing here, or I will anyway. So this is a USDA. So this is Albemarle County. The average rent in Albemarle County is $2,400, and I'm gonna. I made a mathematical error on that thing. It's actually 400,000, not 180. That was a typo on my part. But the USDA, you can qualify up to a $400,000 house, and with a zero amount down payment on it. So, yeah, I had to apologize, guys. I copied from a different county on that. But the bottom line is, you don't need any money down, right? So talk about that. Talk about how that USDA works in Albemarle County.
So USDA is a product that, yes, it allows you to get in at a zero down payment. One of the other things that to take into consideration is it's the most conservative of all the government loan programs. And what that means is you have to make a certain amount of money in order to qualify as far as your debt to income and your total debt to income, the housing, and then all of your other liabilities as well. So if you also, county by county, you can make too much money. Now, what I mean by too much money is it just means you've made more than what the government's going to allow you to participate in this specific program.
Do we know what that is for Albemarle County?
For Albemarle County, I can find out very quickly.
So this number you're about to tell us, if you make more than this number, you do not qualify for this program.
For the USDA program.
Correct.
Interesting.
Each jurisdiction is a little bit different. Flavanna is a little bit less, and I apologize on the 180. I copied the Nelson County number.
Yeah, is it tied to cost of living? It's tied to cost of inventory or cost of living?
Believe living.
Okay.
Cost of cost of living, it's similar to what the area median income is, but they're again, USDA is slightly more.
We don't have to waste the time,
than
Scott. I just thought you had the numbers on the tip of your fingers.
Gotcha.
But I think it's important for folks to understand that, because if they want to go and look at a $400,000 house in Albemarle County and they make too much money, they will not be qualified. But the important thing here is they reach out to a trusted advisor, a loan officer such as yourself, that you can do a better job than I did and make sure you had the right numbers in there on it. But I think it's just important. I can't tell you how many conversations I have with folks, particularly first-time home buyers. I don't have 20%.
Yeah.
And I keep on saying, you don't need it.
Well, that's because, you know why that is? As millennials and younger, our parents have driven this into us.
That's exactly right.
Our entire lives.
That's exactly right.
And it's a complete change of thinking from what we've heard. I'm sure you probably drove that into your daughter's minds as parents at one time.
I just told them, don't look for me to have 20%. It's really wedding, down payment. Wedding, down payment.
I know. A wedding is a down payment on a home.
Well, it depends on where you live.
Right.
Our youngest daughter's in Seattle. That would not.
Right.
It would have to be a pretty expensive wedding to handle that. Did you get that number, Scott?
It's $119,000.
So that's so $119K in Albemarle County. So that's a family, or is that an individual, Scott?
That is an individual. Okay. Family is going to run a little bit higher, and there's some discounts that apply as far as if you've got kids. It really is on an individual case.
So an individual in Albemarle County making $118,999 on their 2019 tax return can qualify for this no money down loan that you're talking about.
Up to $400,000.
Correct.
I mean, good night. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this program right now, I mean, Judah right here is like tickling his mustache. He's like,
Who makes that much in Albemarle?
okay, that's the wrong statement. The right statement is, think about this opportunity that people don't know about. It's not that people that
Clearly.
Yeah, okay.
Clearly.
Okay, don't say what you're going to say now, because you're about to get me in hot water here. I'm finishing your sentences over here for you, Smith. The right one is the opportunity, right? Is it not the opportunity?
It's the opportunity.
It's the opportunity.
And well, to wrap a bow around that, Judah, the area median income, I believe, is around $90,000.
That's for a family
That
of
is,
four.
That is a household.
Yeah, which is generally a family of four. That's not
correct.
individual.
Yeah, that's correct.
So that's AMI, not individual.
Yes,
Yeah.
but if someone's making that much money, are they
And let me
worried about
correct that.
getting a loan?
It's actually 108.
108, he says.
It's six figures,
Yeah,
guys.
six figures,
Six
individual.
figures.
So guys, this is worth repeating. If you're making in Albemarle County and you want to live in Albemarle County, up to $108,000 a year, right under the 108K threshold, you can qualify for this no money down program. Is it USDA?
USDA, yeah.
Up to 400K, Scott Morris?
I believe
Yeah.
so. That's correct.
Good night.
So we'll pivot to a different jurisdiction, Fulvana County, Lake Monticello. We've been talking about that quite a bit. It's kind of the market's been driving there because of the price point and what's available. But it's very interesting, and Scott, you can confirm this. USDA is applicable in Lake Monticello, so you would think Lake Monticello, 4,200 homes, central water, central sewer. It's kind of a city in itself.
Oh, yeah.
But because it's in Fulvana County, it qualifies for USDA loans. And, I got these numbers right. Can you put slide 9 up, please?
What's the highest price tag at Lake Monticello? Highest price on the lake?
6 or 700,000.
Okay, so the most expensive home in Lake Monticello,
Which slide?
It would be 9.
slide 9.
Would be the Fulvana County one.
The most expensive home at Lake Monticello is between $600,000 and $700,000.
Correct. But the average price
Is
range
what, 2 to 3?
It's 2 to 3, yeah, something
Okay.
like that. A little bit more than that. But if you do the USDA loan, right, with 0% down, you can buy a $245,000 house, and the median rent in there is $1,576, and it's going up.
Right. It's going up everywhere. This is a no-brainer. This is, God, Charlottesville, Virginia. Watch this show. If you're renting, listen to what these people are telling you.
But here's an interesting statistic, right? So we just said Fluvanna County, $1,576 is your medium rent. USDA alone is zero. There's still the FHA and the conventional at 3.5% down and 5%, but $245,000 is a 14, 18 month mortgage payment, principal and interest.
That's lower than the rent.
So as of this morning, between $0 and $245,000 at Lake Monticello, there's 11 units for sale. The median list price is $190. So
that's much more common as far as what really fits that USDA bill is that price point between, say, $180,000 and $280,000.
Yeah, because it's a starter home.
So we don't have the math to support this, and I don't want to do this to Scott too quickly, but if we end up buying a $200,000 house, right, at 0% down at 3.5%, you're substantially below the $1,576. And we did the math on a $245,000 house, but right now, as we sit here between 0 and 245, and it's 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, detached. There's 11 units, and the median price is $190.
Okay, so this is so many different factors of why you're saying the micro market that is Lake Monticello is going to absolutely freaking explode.
Well,
you have good, fair prices.
Yeah.
You have a phenomenal proximity to Charlottesville, epicenter of employment.
Sure.
And you have opportunities like this
Sure.
where it makes purchasing less the debt service than carrying a lease.
Well, so Green's another one which we talk about quite often. 150,000 to 265 because there's a little bit more of a swath of price points. There is 6 units for sale, and the median sales price is again $195. That's for a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath detached unit. So we didn't do the math at that $200,000, but at the end of the day, I suspect, and I don't know if Scott can do this quickly in his head, it's probably around the $1,200 range. Right, your principal, interest, taxes, and I think at Lake Monticello you have to add in the
HOA.
HOA.
What's your HOA like? $65?
$80 a month.
Okay.
Right.
210 Lake Monticello. Let's use 3.25% as an interest rate with the HOA. You're $1,325 a month.
Oh my goodness gracious! And you just told me that the rent for the same property, if you wanted to rent in the same community, was between $1,500 and $1,600.
So you're on the plus side of $300
on day one.
On day
one. Not only on your plus side, you're probably saving 2 C notes a month. Close to 2 C notes a month right there. Is that fair?
That is fair, and we're going to talk about this a little later on the back end of the show because I did you're not going to like this, an amortization table.
I love tables. I love schedules.
But just look at it this way. If you were to take that $300 a month delta, right?
And just throw it against the mortgage, the principal.
Against the principal.
Yeah, against the principal.
And that is it's
a no-brainer.
Well, that's a secret that that's not really out there. We talk about this with our first-time home buyers all the time.
If you can make 1 extra payment or 2 extra payments a year, it takes your 30-year term and shrinks it down to 60. It's the latte factor.
There you go.
The latte factor. One of the ways to becoming a millionaire.
That's exactly right.
Is to own a home, and it's the latte factor.
That's exactly
Save
right.
yourself a Starbucks every day and throw it against something that's accruing interest, an interest payment. And a mortgage is a great one.
So we just did some math, right? The medium is, let's call it $1,600. Simple math. Let's call the mortgage, principal, interest, and mortgage on a $200,000.
$1,400 just for the sake of math.
That's closer to $300, $1,300.
Okay, so saving 3 bills.
They're saying 3 bills.
Yeah.
If you take your 3 bills and put them against your principal,
That's $3,600 on a year.
And
you're saying your mortgage is $1,300, so that's basically $1,300 times 3. That is close to 3 mortgage payments. 3 mortgage payments would be $3,900. You would be throwing $3,600 against principal. That's a difference of $300 only.
So we normally, and Scott, jump in. I know we're going off the rails here.
Scott, you're doing a hell of a job, dude.
You're doing a great job,
Keep
Scott.
it up, Scott Morris.
I love being here, guys.
Scott Morris for your loans. Scott Morris for your loans.
Scott, would you let us talk and shut up, okay?
Yeah. I'm just like, generally I leave it running in the background, and now I just get to
get to see with a camera on it. Sorry, man. We're getting off the rails here. We're doing the
You got a hell of a lot of first-time home buyers potentially watching the show, though, Scott.
So don't screw it up.
That's right.
So, but correct me if I'm wrong. I normally advise our clients at the closing table. I advise every client this, if they're seasoned or not, but particularly the first-time home buyers, try to make 2 extra payments a year towards your principal.
Even one.
If you can do 2,
It's huge.
It knocks it from a 30-year to 18 years. Does that sound about right, Scott?
Depending on a few things, I like to say 20 just to be conservative. But yeah, that's essentially where you're not getting any less than that. Like as far as it takes 10 years at a minimum off if you're making 2 payments a year.
That's humongous.
And the important thing about that, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, it's directly in your pocket.
Right.
You're paying yourself. Right. That's the important part. You're not paying the...
It does a couple of things. So in those first few years, as you're doing that, we live in a very blessed area. And I think you guys were talking about this briefly before I came on as far as annual appreciation of the home. We talk about 3% averages. I think we live in an area where we're probably closer to 5. You guys, you're probably more versed in that than I am. Now, so with that said, generally you're about year 7, where if you put that 5% down as a conventional, where your PMI is going to come off on a conventional loan.
Sure.
This is something where if you've been making these additional payments for the first 3 or 4 years, by year 5, you might want to look at let's get an appraisal and see if we can get the bank to remove this at this point.
Okay, so this is something that's coming up on the feed for you, Scott. If you do not put the 20% down, you have PMI. Okay, so we're finishing each other's sentences. It's creepy, and Yona's getting jealous right now. Yona, it's okay. You have his heart. I'm always second best.
Good Lord.
Let me throw this to him. Look, Judah, here's the question I want to throw to you guys, and here's the question that's coming on the feed. Do you have to notify the lender or the people giving you the bag of money once you pass the 20% threshold, or if the home gets appraised and you have 20% of equity in there, do you have to notify them to have the PMI removed from the monthly payment?
Cheers, great question.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You need to contact your servicer and see what they need to be put in place in order for them to recognize it, because everyone's probably a little bit different. But yes, you have to be the one to reach out. They're not going to say, just
stop paying us money.
Your customer, we don't want your money anymore.
right, Scott.
So let's talk about PMI, because that scares the heck out of people.
It does.
Right? And it's really, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's really not big of a number as everybody thinks it is. Everybody thinks, oh my God, I got to have 20% down. I have 20% down. He gave me one of those looks like, Smith, you're going off the rails. But, it's on a $225,000 house. I mean, how much is that a month? Do you know off the top of your head?
So for each program, it's a little bit different.
Sure.
So every time the government gives you something, they're putting something in place. So on an FHA loan, and this is something important to talk about, when you're putting 3.5% down on an FHA loan, the mortgage insurance is permanent. It's for the life of the loan. You would need to put 10% down in order for it to be something that goes away.
That's worth reiterating, don't you think?
I do.
Yeah, we should say that again, because I did not know that.
You want to try that again?
So when you get an FHA loan, you're putting down 3.5%. That mortgage insurance is for the life of the loan. You can refinance out of it. There's things that you can do to make it go away. But in the way that is structured in the contract that you're involved in, it is for the life of the loan. At 10% with an FHA loan, it can be removed. So
learned something today.
If you're credit-wise, you're on the edge of a conventional loan or an FHA loan, and the FHA loan has you a few dollars a month less, and you don't have to bring quite as much to the table, you might want to consider putting down that 1.5% to get you to 5%, and that slightly higher payment in the beginning, because over time you'll save money through the conventional product as you would FHA. But it's what really makes. It's what's important to you at the time of purchase. At the same time, you shouldn't base everything on that if you know it's going to put you in a bind.
So isn't your credit score impacts PMI? In other words, you have a higher credit score, your PMI is a little less. Is that true? Oh, I think he's frozen. We just lost him.
Frozen? Let me see if we can get him.
We got him back.
We got him back? J-Dubs?
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
That was
Ask him that question again. I don't know how that just happened. But let's not complain about it.
This has been weird, weird technology.
That's good. That's good.
This must be you, Morris. Every time we do this, it gets a little crazy.
Throw him that question.
Yeah. So,
Hey,
does your credit score impact your PMI amount? So, in other words, if you have a higher credit score, is your PMI amount
higher credit score,
yeah,
lower mortgage insurance.
that's important to note. Okay, cool.
So, in fact, there's somebody I'm working with just this morning. He said, "Hey, I know I'm kind of right there on the edge of where FHA versus conventional." So, and giving him the two options, the conventional is a slightly higher payment, but he knows that 5 years from now, the payoff is going to be to drop the mortgage insurance entirely.
Right.
So we're coming up at close to the end of our time together here. Anything else you want to add into it? You know, what from your perspective, you deal with this every day. You talk to first-time home buyers every day. If I'm walking into you, I'm a first-time home buyer. I'm having a conversation with you, and I'm saying, "Geez, I'm living in Lake Monticello, and I'm paying $1,600 a month. This crazy guy Smith is telling me that I can buy a house and pay less." You know, what are you going to tell them when they ask the question of, "Is it better for me to own than rent?" What are you going to say? You know, take your loan officer hat off, and what are you going to tell that person? Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely. So my first questions are going to be, let's talk about what your goals are. Are you planning on being in the area for a while?
Got it.
You know, or do you have a family? Do you plan on having a family? Am I still with you?
Yeah, you're still
All right.
there. You're still there.
Cool. What are your goals as far as if this is the area for you and you plan on being here, let's trams that suits you. I want to show you all the options and say, do you feel that this is better for your situation than continuing to pay a landlord? If your answer is yes, then I'm going to walk you through the process from beginning to end from the moment that I write your approval letter to you sending an earnest money deposit along with your agent, to your home inspection, through the appraisal, all the underwriting requirements, and getting you to clear to close at the end, so that you feel educated throughout that process. And it's not this, well, I sent this guy this stuff, and then occasionally I get an email that says we've moved on to a new milestone. Like, you as a buyer, borrower, and the agent on the other side are going to feel educated and in the know with where things are at each individual step throughout the process.
So the short answer is it's a good fiscal move.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
It's a good fiscal move.
This is a no-brainer.
So, Scott, thank you. I apologize for the technical difficulties.
Oh, it was great. Scott, you crushed it, man. A lot of people watching too, Scott.
Thanks, guys.
See you later, buddy. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Good stuff from Scott Morris right there. Dot the I's and cross the T's. What you found out there?
Well, you know, I found out about the FHA loan. So that's something I've been
That
doing.
was huge.
I've been doing this forever, and I probably should have known that, so I didn't. So thank you, Scott, for sharing
I
that
didn't know
with
that.
me.
I've been doing this
You
not
know-
as long as you, but I didn't know that.
Yeah, so, you know, the reality of it is, and we're actually going to talk about next some of the emotional portions of being a homeowner, right? So we've been spending a lot of time about money, right? You know, hey, you know, so there are non-tangible, you know, as far as actual money and revenue to come in that I want to talk a little bit about. So,
Well, how about the feeling of like accomplishment?
so
When you wake up in the morning,
yeah.
you go out, you cut your grass, you do some weeding in the garden, and then you go and look at your house from the curb. You feel good about yourself.
So, slide 10, if you don't mind. So the non-fiscal or financial benefits of home ownership, and you went right there because you're not even looking at your slides. So you and I
haven't looked at the notes yet. I'm sorry.
I know you
I'm
haven't.
sorry.
You lied to me. You said you read them.
I
as
will
well.
read these. I will
You
read
will.
these. I learn from you. I really, really do.
Miller, the purpose of me sending this stuff to you is so you read them before the show.
I know. We were trying to get Scott Morris on the phone.
We're going to have a little conversation after this, Mr. Miller. So I send you stuff, you look at it. So non-financial. So we talked about money, right? Money's great and all this kind of great stuff. But, you know, even if you were breaking even, if you can go to slide 11, please. And this is exactly what you were just saying. So this is a survey that was done by Centrix, which is an analytical surveying company. And they went ahead and surveyed all the folks that were buying houses in the last 12 months. 93% said owning the home made them happier.
Yeah.
Right? Just made them happier. Right? You know, that doesn't mean that everybody's happy, because obviously it's not at 100%, but 93% of the people that own a home, they're happier. They have their own sense of worth. They can have their children there. And then 88, which would be slide 12, 88% of the people that they polled agreed that this was the best decision they ever made. And there's a final slide on that, which is 13, is 79% believe that owning a home changed their life for the better. And I just kind of want, we spent a bunch of time talking about money, but you're a homeowner, right? You rented at one point in time, didn't you own? So how did it make you feel?
I mean, it's completely different. It's completely different. And why it's completely different is because you actually own it. You want to take care. And I even took care of the properties when I was a young guy renting them. I mean, we wouldn't destroy them or anything like that. But when you own it, you take care of it. And when you take care of it and you see it looking good because of your hard work, you feel good about yourself. And when you start feeling good about yourself on a lot of different areas, maybe it's your house, maybe it's your relationship, maybe it's your fitness and your exercise, maybe you're feeling good about your job, it's amazing what self-worth and self-confidence does for a person.
And even in this world of COVID-19, right, you have your own space.
Yeah.
It might be a little crowded right now, but do I have permission to talk to Judah?
Sure, of course.
Judah, I'm going to ask you a question. Can I?
Judah camera.
We have a little interview with you, Judah.
Get that camera in front of you here. Judah's like, uh-oh, here we go.
Let me make an adjustment here. Go ahead and ask your question.
So you're a recent home buyer, right?
Yes.
So tell me.
About a year, right?
Well, that's recent.
Yeah.
So tell me, forget about the fiscal end of it. How did it feel, man? You're still busy.
It felt great. I mean, it was, it felt like I was growing into something, like, I don't know, like I was maturing. It felt like I finally had a piece of something that was mine, that, I felt a little bit disappointed that, 10, 11 years of paying rent on this place, nobody said, "Hey, you can."
I told you to do that.
Yeah, but but I didn't know all the information that you guys.
Yeah, got it.
That I've been hearing.
So you didn't have a trusted advisor to advise you through that. You had him.
Right.
He's worked with us for 8 years, and for 8 years I've been telling him to do this.
But you just hit the nail on the head. So you moved into this house, right? After, you're just like, oh my God, I could have been doing this for 8 more years. But, and I know how much you love your puppy. So you have a beautiful home for your four-legged furry friend, right?
Yeah. And he bought his home that he was renting.
I didn't have to move in because I bought the place that I was
renting.
That's
smart.
Yeah.
So didn't have to move.
Well, Judah, I think the world of you. Thank you for everything you're doing. I didn't want to put you on the spot, but I put you on the spot anyway. I was looking for somebody to share what the emotional portion of it is, because at the end of the day, it isn't all fiscal, right? It isn't all numbers.
Now you're kind of sounding like my wife, my wonderful, beautiful wife who's watching here.
Well, it's because she's smart.
Well, everywhere she looks in our house, and we've been in the house since March 28th. So it's not like we've been there for so long. Trey kicked a soccer ball there. Trey peed on the carpet over there. Trey ate his cereal with the spoon for the first
Trey
time.
Or Jerry peed on the carpet?
He's named after me. But I get it, and I'm trying to be more open-minded to it.
Yeah, well, I'm working on that with you. You
are.
You got to get a little bit more in touch with your emotional side instead of your looking at things as numbers. So the other
got to get off the balance sheet.
Get off the balance.
And more in touch with emotions.
Well, we talked about this. We why this is the number one investment, right? It's because you can put the emotional portion of it. You can
tangible.
You can put your head on a pillow. It's yours. Well, you share it with the bank, but it's yours, right? And it's your grass to cut. It's your it belongs to you. You're not helping somebody else move forward. But I do want to go back to money.
Sure.
If we have time.
Yeah, plenty of time. Plenty of time.
There's these two words that we've been tossing around: appreciation and equity, right? And I think it's important to kind of define what that is.
Quentin Beckham is watching.
What did he say?
Quentin Beckham.
This is really not fair. I can't see any of this stuff.
Quentin Beckham is making me laugh. He goes, emotions? What are emotions?
Oh,
I'm Googling emotions right now. What are emotions?
Oh, Quentin. I know better than that. That is not
Quentin,
true.
that made me laugh, Quentin.
That is not true.
I know. He's just doing it for the sake of a talk show. He's making a joke.
He's making a joke.
Quentin is a very sensitive, in touch with his emotions gentleman. I know he is.
Thank God he's a good real estate broker, because as a comedian,
He's a hell of a writer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely get that. All right, do we have permission to continue?
We can.
Quentin,
Sorry, Quentin.
Can we
ADD,
continue?
you have it too.
Oh, that's just.
Two guys with ADD.
Oh man, there's a whole show right there. Who's worse?
Depends on the day. But don't you thrive on organized chaos?
Man, I love it.
Right? Me too. Like having all the ball, it's like it's adrenaline.
Yeah, but we'll get back to real estate in a minute, guys. So but don't you find at the end of the day you crash?
Yeah.
Emotionally, you just crash.
Right, but during the day when you're managing it, it's a rush.
Yeah, it is a rush. Yeah, I know I have this, right? So I'll be laser focused on something, lose it, do something else, and then I'll come back to where I was on the 2 or 3 things back and never miss a beat. Just keep on going.
And then you get everything done.
Well,
as long as you manage it, it can be a huge asset.
Is Yona still watching?
Yona is still watching.
Yeah. So she's
like, guys, man.
I'm going to admit this in front of everybody.
Oh.
I'll tell everybody I can multitask.
You can't. I've seen you multitask. You multitask well. Can I say something?
Sure.
Sometimes you sell yourself short, and I don't like it.
I know that.
I don't like it.
I know that. Okay. Yes, dear.
Okay. I don't like it.
Yes, dear. Okay. Are we doing more therapy here, or we're done?
This is good. I think this is like card talk for real estate.
Card talk for
People
real estate.
freaking loving it right now.
No, they're watching and going, okay, what are these two knuckleheads going to say now?
They're watching.
What are these two idiots going to say? So, appreciation, let our ADD get back, right? Let's rally back up to what we lost.
Yeah.
Right? So appreciation is what your home appreciates over time, right?
Sure.
So we've been talking about 3%. Some people think 5%. I think 3% is a little on the low side. And then equity is that conversation we've been having about, when you pay a mortgage payment and you have this, 360 months amortization table here, is as you make a payment, you're building up equity into it.
It's a savings account, essentially.
It's a savings account. Yeah, it's a savings account that is attached to the ground. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So I wanted to...
So you win twice. If you purchase the right spot, you win by paying down the debt and building savings in your home savings account. And then you also win on the long end, on the back, well, they're both kind of the long and back end, with the appreciation of the home. And the mortgage broker, Scott Morse, just came on the show and said, around here, it's 5% appreciation every year. Now, that might be a bit aggressive.
I think it's aggressive.
It depends on the price point. The price point that I'm in now, I'm not seeing a 5% appreciation, but that's because of the price point. I think a lower price point where you're talking starter potentially, then you might be able to get the 4 to 5%. You're not going to see the 5% appreciation once you're cracking $600,000.
That's not necessarily true.
Really? 5% every single year?
Yeah. So that's an average around, and I choose 3% because I think that's more conservative on it. You don't want to over promise and under deliver, right?
Right.
That kind of thing. But it depends. I think the dollar amount is larger. So actually, I ran some quick numbers this morning. Like a $200,000 this USDA loan we've been talking about, a $200,000 USDA loan with 3.5% and 0 down, right? So we got 2 columns. We got our appreciation column and we've got our equity column. So if we're appreciating year over year, right? At year 5, that $200,000 jumps up to $225. At year 10, it's $260. So the average I think NAR just came out, and Quentin and anybody on here will probably correct me if I'm wrong, is about 9 years is what folks think. It used to be 7, it's jumped up a little bit more to 9. But, within 5 years, that house is market, a $200,000 house is at $225, and then at 10 years is $260. Your equity, right?
Yeah.
If you pay an extra $100 a month, a couple less cup of coffee of this a month.
Latte Factor,
which is a great book. You're at year 5, you're at plus $5,000. At year 10, you're plus 42. So you see how that jumps so quickly on
right.
the equity
Yeah.
end of it. So a cash out, right? So cash out at year 5, right? You would basically put about $30,000 in your pocket. So in other words, that means I sold my house at year 5. It sold for $225. I did my equity appreciation paying at a closing table. This is less closing costs and whatever. You're going to be grossing about $30,000. Year 10, same house, same scenario. You gross over 6 figures, about $102,000. So
You know what the next show is, though. I mean, you're the executive producer. I'm just along for the ride here. The
Really?
next show, and
You're going to write that down somewhere?
Well, this is a very powerful tool here. Is the like-kind exchange. If you do piece out of your property to avoid capital gains exposure, and capital gains exposure, when you're talking about after 5 years or 10 years of selling your property, and if you sell and you walk away with that chunk of change, you're going to get popped by Uncle Sam. So the best bet, and I think a really good show, and I don't think a lot of folks even know about this.
We're going to talk about that if we got time.
The like-kind exchange would be, and the exact language for this, if you guys want to look up to it, is a 1031 exchange.
Do them all the time.
A powerful, tax-efficient way to shift real estate between real estate assets. So I've done it a couple times.
Yes, but you've done it on commercial.
Yeah, I've done it on commercial.
Yeah, so that's more of a common
with commercial.
Well,
it's more common when it's not primary residence.
Correct.
It's when it's kind of an investment.
So this would be a great thing to bring CJ back on, my CPA, back on to talk about that, or if Quentin wants to chime in on this. On the residential side, very rarely you see a 1031 exchange. Where you would see a 1031 exchange on a residential side of it is, let's say.
Well, I'm kind of going through one now, or I have a crossroads of going through it now. So without saying too much.
Yeah, give me the background.
Okay, without saying too much.
Yeah, sure.
I have primarily commercial tenants.
Sure.
One of my residential tenants is looking to do what Judah did and purchase the property that she's renting from me.
Got it.
The problem I have, this was the first property I purchased. So it's a good and a bad problem. The situation I'm in is I basically don't know very much on this.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I'm about ready to say.
Yeah.
That's when it's really needed.
So we're talking about $190,000.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So if I pull that.
You're gonna get sipped.
Spanked by the tax man.
Big time.
Alternatively, I can, within a period of time,
90
roll that
days.
into another property,
That's exactly right.
which is kind of where we're at, considering.
So the only time, and you're spot on, right? So if you're making, these type of ratios we're talking about right here, in 10 years, if you're going to go sell your house and you're going to net $102,000, most people are going to go buy something else. So you're going to be okay with that. Where you get spanked is if that $260,000 house is all cash. Right.
Yeah.
So very rarely we do this in a retail environment, right? Not necessarily a commercial environment, but it's very common in commercial. But that's what happened. And then this is part of your conversation you have with your client, blah, 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 blah. And you say, okay, fine. So we have to designate a piece of property in a certain period of time. We got to get it under contract. Have you had a conversation with your CPA? Mr. Miller, have you had a conversation?
All the above.
Gotcha.
The problem I'm having with my 1031 exchange, Justine Montgomery is watching. I think she's watching is she watching from Vermont?
No, she's back.
Okay. What's up, Justine Montgomery? You have 7 real estate firms watching the show. The problem I'm having with the 1031 exchange is I want to roll it into commercial, and I'm looking for a very hyper-local, hyper-market.
So is that money coming out of residential?
It's going to go, if I do this, it would go from residential to commercial.
Your CPA said you can do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm having a difficult time finding
There you go.
a proper commercial to purchase.
There you go.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
So it may force my hand
Just buy another residential.
where I just keep it and just enjoy the 4.25% appreciation on 4.25% increase on rent every year.
Sure.
So I don't know. It's a predicament.
Why would you? Okay, so what motivate? Are we on there?
Yeah, we're on air.
Have we?
Absolutely.
What motivated you to even think this?
I got a text message from my tenant saying, "Would you sell me the property?"
Got it. So the problem is where you're going to buy.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get back into residential investment.
Yeah.
I love office space because there's no washer, there's no dryer, there's no sink, there's no toilet, no bathtub, no pets.
Yeah, sure.
They adore the property. They make their money there.
Yeah, because you're going to get hit hard if you don't.
Hammered.
Yeah.
That's why I almost can't even do it. And the other problem with the 1031 exchange, as you know, is there's a limited time for the exchange it can happen. So it can't float forever.
How much money is we talking about? A couple $100,000? I might have something for you.
Okay. Look at this. Are you in the business of making deals?
Something like that.
Are you in the business of making deals?
I got a better answer. Give me the $200,000. I'll take care of it for you.
Okay, Smith. What's your idea?
Huh?
What's your idea?
I'll tell you off air.
Oh, come on, right now.
I saw a commercial piece of property yesterday that was right up that price point.
Okay.
It's not downtown though.
That's what I'm kind of looking for.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be that number. That can be leveraged as like.
Sure, the down payment.
Yeah.
Yeah, got
Right. And a lot of them, as you know, trading down here are trading owner fi.
Yeah.
They're not even going through banks.
Yeah, you're going to find a hard time finding them downtown.
I'm struggling.
Yeah, but this particular parcel I'm thinking of is north of town.
I see the wheels spinning.
Yeah.
Jonah's like, guys.
Get back on top.
Multitasking is not healthy, just saying.
Did she say that?
Yeah, she said multitasking is not healthy. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Has she said that to you your whole life?
Something like, not my whole life, but 34 years of it. But yeah, well, but truth be known, women are much better at that than men.
Oh, women. Okay, I'm going to truth be known. Women are much better at
At
everything.
everything.
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth? So, Quentin Beckham what is he chiming in on?
How did you know he was?
It popped up on here.
Oh, okay, God, Quinn's sending me a private a DM. He says this is a phenomenal conversation. He's enjoying the conversation. He says the utility of a 1031 exchange is most here. Let me turn this off. People are contacting us. The utility of a 1031 exchange is most residential real estate deals is limited and bumps up against the one-time capital gains
exactly
exception when we are talking about primary residence. He's exactly right.
Yeah,
the 1031s are investments.
Yeah,
Usually.
But we've done it in residential. But my first question to you was, did you talk to your CPA?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
The CPA also happens to be the attorney, which is nice.
Got it.
And Quentin said, this is a great example for a trusted advisor. Hint, hint, hint. Keller Williams, Quentin Beckham. Quentin's trying to make a deal right now.
Is there any way we can exclude people?
He's sending me direct messages.
Can we block him?
He's sending me direct messages.
Can we block him?
We're not blocking Quentin. We like Quentin on this show.
We do. Yeah, so he's spot on right, and there is a show here to do that, and maybe we'll ask Mr. Beckham to come on
or Bill Tucker.
Bill Tucker, I to do it justice, you actually got to either have your CPA/attorney or an attorney and a CPA, because you really got to understand the legalities of it and the impact on your tax scenario. But the premise of the show, guys,
is knowledge, approachable knowledge.
Well, we're trying to approachable knowledge, but the premise of today's show, our chemistry is not working at the moment, is that
it's exceptional. People are loving it.
There you go. Is that you don't need 20% down?
Yes.
Right. You don't need to rent. Right. You can rent, you can buy in certain areas around us, maybe not in Albemarle County, maybe not in Charlottesville, but at a certain price point so that you're on the positive side of rent. And the real struggle at the moment is at this price point is the lack of inventory. It's, certain higher points inventory is a little higher than lowers inventory. But, what I was hoping to achieve today, other than the little technical glitches we had in the beginning, like me not sending Judah the slides.
It actually went exceptionally well.
Well, it's because Judah's
I don't
good.
think anyone saw the microphone go limp or the slide missing.
You stop using the word limp.
Or Scott Morris going in and out with the Skype. It went really well.
Yeah, appreciate if you don't use the word limp.
Okay, I will. No one saw that the microphone broke.
There you go. So, at the end of the day, guys, my hope here was to try to get some information out. There's a ton of trusted advisors that on that thing, on the feed. Reach out to them. They'll help you through this process. This is what we do. And I guess the only thing to end up, or don't be afraid to ask a question, right? So if you're like, there's no hope for me, I'm going to be renting for the rest of my life. Oh. Don't think that way. Reach out to anybody on this feed. Reach out to us, right? We'll put you in the connection with the right people to help you get there. And it's something. Just a shout out to the folks in the loan officer business and Scott in particular. Some clients, we have this conversation and they'll build a plan for them. Say, look, okay, we're not quite there today, right? But if you do X, Y, Z, we can get you there in a year. And we work with folks all the time on that. Say, let's set up a path that we can get you to that point. And then, inevitably what happens a couple times in it, am I there yet? Am I there yet? Am I there yet? But eventually you get there. And then you start this beautiful, let's face it, it's called the American Dream for a reason.
Well said.
Right?
Very well said.
American Dream.
I think you put together a show that is timeless, approachable.
I tried.
And very full of knowledge.
I tried. This was, I'll be honest with you, I was more nervous about this show than I was on Friday talking about that $2.2 million. It's just, how do you take all this data?
You make it digestible.
And just make it. It's hard. And
long form content.
Yeah, there you go. That's the right answer.
Because you can't do it in
15-second soundbite.
Or even a half hour with commercial breaks.
So we forgot to do shout-outs to our sponsors, but they're rolling on the side. And so everybody you see on your screen, please support them. They're great local companies. And Maribet, yep. I had a line again today, so that's great news.
Roy Wheeler.
Roy Wheeler's always great, trusted advisor.
Your buddy, Pearl Certification. Cynthia.
So I was watching her on Facebook. She lives out in Colorado doing some awesome hikes.
Really?
Oh, man, you should friend her. Where she's lives out in Colorado. It's absolutely gorgeous. And we got to bring Joe back.
Yeah, I think he's eager to come back.
I got to bring back
Joseph Gentile,
my Long Island buddy, and find out how he's doing out
And let's not forget our good buddy, Bill Tucker.
Bill Tucker, yep, he's a trusted advisor. And Dairy Market, we're really, they're getting tired of me calling them every 5 minutes to come on in. So
let's get Chris Henry here.
I'm trying to do it.
Okay. My friend, we have a video ready to go.
We do. Judah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Stepped up, Judah Wittkower. He's Keith Smith, Yes Team Realtors, the Yes Team Realtors, the Yes Team Realtors. Keith and Jonas Smith. Judah Wittkower is the director. My name is Jerry Miller. This is Real Talk, Tuesdays and Fridays at 10:15 on the I Love CVille Network.
Friday, we're going to do a micro location. We're going to bring in Matt Neese, and we're going to really focus on Lake Monticello.
Is Matt Neese the most well-dressed realtor in the game? So Keith Smith's number one.
No,
all right,
he is. Yeah, he impresses the heck out of me.
He's getting his clothes. Someone tagged Matt Neese. I saw it on social. He's getting his clothes custom from Alton Lake. Now, when you're 6'8" and change,
well, he's got to custom everything.
Yeah, you can't go to Brooks Brothers and get something off the rack.
Pretty sure his socks are custom too.
Yeah, I mean he's 6'8" and change.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Sharp dress, rising rock star.
I love being around him. He's just a super positive guy. So looking forward to it. We're going to bring him on in, and we're going to, he's helping Yona and I kind of tackle the Lake Monticello market. So we're really going to talk a little bit about that and spend a bunch of time. So I got a bunch of preparation to do between now and Friday, but I'm excited about it.
Fantastic. Great show.
Thank you, brother.
I love it. Judah Wittkower, are you ready? Let's play that video in 3, 2, and 1.